Good day, everyone. This is the Human Biography Podcast. On my episode, I've got an old friend that's becoming new again. My friend Kris Krüg, who I interviewed like many years ago, must have been 10 years ago, 13 years ago.
It was
like
2011.
Wow. So 13 years ago. I think about you that you are constantly transforming yourself. Not just like your mental, but your physical as well. Look at you, always so characteristic in the way you look, and I appreciate that. But there's something very original about who you are. And so tell me, how do you describe yourself in your work today? Yeah.
Well, one big change that I use to describe myself from when you and I knew each other to now is I used to embody KK the Rockstar photographer.
Yes, that's right.
And now I'm trying to embody KK the Rockstar CEO.
Yeah,
And so I've started a company, I'm growing a team, and I've started a nonprofit and hosting regular events and stuff. And so I've just I've grown up,
Yeah, great.
I spent some time in Africa leading these art residencies for a while.
Wow.
And at that time, I kind of underwent this shift of thinking of changing the way I think about myself from an individual creator to almost like a arts and culture curator kind of thing, moving into a bit more of I was, hosting 12 artists at a time in an art residency and empowering them to make and create great work, and then showing it and helping them promote it and promote themselves and stuff. And so that was just leading up to the pandemic, and I came back with a mind towards kind of like re-emerging in that way, or whatever and stuff. Then had a little unexpected twist with the downtime,
It happens.
Yeah, I was a world traveling photographer right up until the pandemic hit, and then all of a sudden I was like a guy at home on Galiano Island with a camera, and so I had to, reassess everything, and stuff, and then AI kind of hit and took the world by storm. I started playing with the tools really early on, and it just gave me a chance to rejoin the world right kind of where I left it, and in empowering creative professionals around these emerging tools and techniques and stuff. So,
well, that's what I appreciate about you, is that you are not just an artist or a creative that is self-serving. You are really helping others in a constant way, whether it's through your visual talents or just gathering people. And I think that idea of gathering is a really, really important place as people, as humans gather, but also putting out ideas that are beyond the construct of just human things or digital AI. And so can we talk about some of the work that you're working on and some of the things that you're teaching people? Yeah.
Well, creatively, one of the most fulfilling things is when people take my individual work and mix it with their own individual work, and the whole becomes more than the sum of its parts.
Yes.
So even simple things, I used to love it when I'd get to work for a magazine and I'd photograph someone, and then they'd hire an illustrator to draw on top of the photos, and that would be the finished work or something like that. So I love being a part of things, whether it be filmmaking or immersive art experiences where you need a team to do it, right?
Yes, you do.
And having always been kind of a creative professional, I found that a great way to summon unto myself the types of things that I want to work on is to forge these other creative connections with other people. I truly believe in the intrinsic value of these connections and communities.
Yes.
You fake it till you make it, or you're rehearsing until the big stuff comes.
Absolutely.
And stuff. And so I always got lots of experiments on the go with other creative souls, and we try to put those out there into the world. And when interest perks up, or people say I want that too, then you can go and roll that out as a bigger production or something.
I want to talk about AI tools because everybody out there. I'm a ChatGPT user just to see information. I'm not the best math instructor for my kids, so I'm like, did I do this right? But there's something to it that is solving simple home problems, but there's a lot of greater things that you can do creatively. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me sort of things that you're seeing and that you're working on yourself? Yeah.
Well, I'd love to just unpack all that.
Yeah, let's do that.
And
that's great.
One thing is, this is something that affects us all, whether we're professionals or not, in both our professional life and all other parts of our life.
Absolutely.
Like you just said, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what makes it so interesting. It's not just business people using it to do whatever, and it's not just families using it to manage this, or language translator. It's like this pervasive, ubiquitous thing that's changing all of these interactions and connections that we have, So what that means is that the dialogue around the ethics of it, the use of it, about how it affects creativity in our lives and our identities, is something that everybody can participate in. It doesn't have to be somebody who's a professional or they're into AI. someone who's not into it is affected by it just as much as somebody who builds it, or, maybe even more so and stuff. And so, when it comes to the dialogue, some people that are the builders of the tools, they're not thinking about the ethics, or they're not involved in the philosophical talks about it and stuff. And so just because someone's a builder of it doesn't necessarily make them an expert. And just because someone's, not involved in the tech creation of it doesn't mean that they shouldn't have a voice and a perspective and develop the vocabulary, because it will continue to affect us all. And so if we want to be a part of the conversation of what we want it to be and do, and how we want it to, what areas we want to give it control of versus areas we want to keep human control of, that's a conversation everybody can be a part of.
I love the idea of opportunity. I'm an I like opportunity to create from people I meet, from things that I'm seeing in the world, and talk about them, or asking people questions about them. But you're totally right. Like, I remember sitting and watching something on TV where two people were talking, and right there live, they were exemplifying questions that they were just like having in their mind. Like, let's look it up right now, real time. And so both people were surprised. So that idea of surprise, or delight, that I like to call, is that it's like this other layer of something that we never knew, something that we thought we could never do or be, we're suddenly available to do. Like, I've been playing with AI and food in my kitchen. And I've been cooking up recipes that not only taste good, but I don't have to go to the store and find out like that I don't have something that I can make to eat right there and then. So like simple things like that, to like really complicated things like building a full company, of not knowing how AI works, to being like, oh, I'm not only building a company, I'm profiting from it as well. So there's a full gamut of things. And like, so you run an AI meetup.
I just love your curiosity. It really benefits people who are curious, because you can sit down in front of these things and they're not like answer machines. It's not there to sit there and give you the right answer. It's to help you think better. It's to help you brainstorm better, to help you strengthen your strategies or ideas. I don't think that AI makes art, it really makes suggestions. And the art comes when humans make some decision there about something that really like moves the human soul or whatever, right? And so, and I don't think that like AI is going to write the next great novel, but it might suggest the plot twist that turns something from good to great, or something like that along the way. And I think the more that we can like be curious about these nascent young intelligences and sit down in front of them and be like, how can I speak to you in such a way that I get the most useful things out of you, or that you show me how you can help me and stuff like that. And so curiosity, I believe, is one of those like soft skills that will, I don't know, buttress us as we go through this period of change kind of professionally and stuff,
Absolutely.
You gotta, it really begs the question, like, what skills do we need to have? Like tech skills, what perspectives do we need to have in order to kind of like stay even through what, change is sometimes wavy, gravy, uncertain. Professionally, we don't know how, what jobs is it going to replace, how soon, what's my job going to look like, and stuff. And so that's a lot of what's on people's mind, I think. And
I'm constantly looking at like how I want to use creativity in general. Okay, so like, how am I advancing my work? And I've almost like brought myself to a place of like, here's where I'm at. And it's like, what more is out there? And it's like, there's so much. You know what it's doing? It's just enabling me to see more and see. And it's not like replacing the things that I'm seeing or actually taking over what I'm able to do. It's like, here's another aspect of what you can be doing. So the whole doom and gloom.
That's so cool, man.
Well, yeah, it's like I hear this idea of like, it'll replace this, that, and the other. I'm like, or can it enhance everything that you're doing? Like, and I'm just like, I don't want to see it as doom and gloom. And I don't see it as doom and gloom. I see it as bigger opportunity. I see it as more creativity.
Well, I feel more creative, more productive, and more like literally powerful than I've ever felt in my whole life, right? One of the ways that I've found AI slotting into my workflow and in my life is like, it's helped me get better at the things that I wasn't that good at. Sure. Organization, structure, financial projections, legal kind of things.
Absolutely.
And just even like some of the follow through on that stuff, turning my nascent ideas or thoughts. I've developed some wicked processes and some tools. Like my favorite thing to do, and it's like low hanging fruit, everyone should do it if you're not, is get ideas out of your heart and head via voice recordings onto your phone, transcribe them with AI, and then run them through bots. And by bots, I just mean any AI like ChatGPT pre-configured with some instructions custom to you. So it's like you receive transcriptions, and when you receive them, you flesh out the ideas, find citations, and present me outlines for blog posts or something like that. And I did that on the way over here.
And it's your voice. It's your voice.
It can be. It can be very close. I mean, all these low-hanging fruit, off-the-shelf tools these days, you can upload documents that say are your writing style guide or documents you've written before that are successful. You can upload perspective and worldview documents, writing samples. You can even like export things like your WhatsApp chat logs or your LinkedIn notifications. I have a professional bot that I've written where I exported many of the useful things from LinkedIn, like all my connections, all my recommendations, all this kind of stuff. And now I can query it and it will write in other people's voice about me based on things they've already said and stuff. And so, the possibilities are endless, but recording your voice any way you can.
That's great. All of our phones got voice recorders on them, you know what I mean?
And then running that through basic transcription service, you know, like Otter people use or Fireflies. I'm developing my own tool called Whisper Forge that is just essentially based on my straight up pipeline, which is I want to record into it. I want it to transcribe that. I want it to auto run one of a few of different prompts that I've already written, like an extract wisdom or a write up a summary thing. And then I want it to drop it off on my Notion as like a new page in my Notion, right? And that, so I built a tool called Whisper Forge that I released on GitHub that does that. And so, messing with new workflows, trying to find ones that are useful to other people and then, you know, turn them into software.
Oh, you know, when Christopher got here, is like, we got to do something together. And I'm like thinking, I've got so many ideas now. Like we need to have an output for people to understand what else is available for them. And when you gather people, when you have these meetups, tell me about the type of people that are turning up and what is their interaction and what is their interest?
So about a year ago when I started my company, Future Proof Creatives, I started doing workshops and trainings and courses for creative pros that were trying to figure out AI in their studios.
Love it.
And alongside that, I started running these Vancouver AI community meetups. And the idea was when I moved back to Vancouver after the pandemic and plugged into the AI scene, that it was just getting back online after the pandemic. People were hungry to get together, but we were all still not quite sure. And a lot of things I was going to left me wanting more. They were either just like LangChain users group or, you know, Google Developer Garage Cloud Services AI meetup. Or they were super technical, a lot of job seekers, and they kind of suffered from some of that tech bro culture, hierarchical kind of stuff where it's like, I'm smarter than you or who are you anyway, and that kind of thing. And vis-a-vis what I was saying earlier about how I think that this affects everyone in society, not just the makers. I wanted to have a bigger tent type of thing, an enthusiastic exploration of AI as it impacts us all. The ethics of it, how it's affecting our jobs, creatively. And so I like to think of it as like academics in the AI space. We've done partnerships with SFU's Meta Creation Lab and the Emerging Media Lab at UBC. And then founders and startup kind of venture capitalist culture type people who have AI startups and are organizing AI events. Then a lot of like designers, filmmakers, photographers, writers, people, a lot of podcasters and stuff. It's that creative technology group of people, but it's pretty interesting in that, you know, Brenda Bailey, the Minister of Innovation here in BC said like, we spend tens of millions of dollars trying to break down silos in BC, and this is what it's all about here. Good job, KK. Like,
well, it's also like we want to know that there's more, you know, as creatives. So we want to know that there's like people with like that feel like us, that look like us, or want to like do like us, are ready to offer and share. Because everybody's working in silos in their creativity. But if they know that there's a gathering point where we can keep learning more and sharing more and actually grow our businesses, then that is like an awesome opportunity. Because I remember after the pandemic or during the pandemic, I was like, everything is slowed down. And creativity was the first for people who were suffering. You know, people were coming to me going, are you working? I'm like, I'm creating projects. But what is considered work after that's creating money from your craft? And a lot of people found that hard. And now with the emergence of AI, they're starting to be, let's get entrepreneurial with it, yet keep and maintain the integrity of creativity. And I think that's what you're offering people. And that is like, not just for yourself, right? It starts with yourself, but then it offers to a whole bunch of people. We live in Vancouver. We live in this, but this is like a widespread opportunity. This is a global opportunity that you can actually sit from your home and actually create. What are some of the cool things that businesses that are coming out of all this? Yeah.
Oh man, it is a really interesting time.
Yeah.
You can feel the energy of innovation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of interesting things happening right now.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are launching new software products and stuff, and software is easier to build than it's ever been before.
Yes.
You know, and guys like me who used to just smash their head up against a technical ceiling of like, I'm just not an engineer, architect able to do this stuff. Those barriers don't exist anymore.
Wow.
You know, with AI, the way you can literally speak into existence code, ask the computer how to run it,
Yes.
copy the errors that it gives into the AI,
Yes.
have it give you updated stuff,
Yeah.
ask it how to document it and stick it on the internet,
Yes.
and then, deploy it. Like, you can do all that now. And I've done it several times. I got a few projects released on GitHub, and that's incredible, really. So,
Wow.
a lot of these PR firms, media firms, and ad agencies are obviously trying to figure out the whole generative AI space, and stuff, both for producing things, but also for running their businesses.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing that is often conflated.
Yeah.
A lot of people assume artists or creatives are against AI because of many of the ethical problems that are there on the surface, where the training data come from.
Yeah.
What's the impact on jobs in the industries and stuff? And so there is this perception that because there are some problems or there's some negative impacts of AI on the creative industries, that all artists or creatives are against it. And clearly, that's not true. There's a range of different perspectives.
Absolutely.
And there are people emerging with new practices, new forms, new techniques, and things are really moving quite fast in that space. And it's hard to not look at it as something of a renaissance in that, at certain periods of time in history, a whole bunch of new ways of making creative expression emerge, and we're not sure which ones are. We even see AR and VR, XR headsets and all these things fighting with each other. We're not really sure what's going to emerge, but these are experimental forms, and those are just the beginning. When it comes to the things that are happening on the internet too with AI and stuff, there's a lot of weird new, what do you call it? Cross-disciplinary.
Every category is out there. I start to think about, I hear about ethics. Ethics from the internet to AI to I don't know the full story, but I'll tell you this one that I heard. Yeah. There's actors in Hollywood, right? And they were being replaced. Their voices and image were being replaced in movies for retakes because I couldn't get a hold of the actor or whatever it was. But then they said, well, what if instead of just having for retakes, why don't we just use that same AI and cut the cost of having the actor in there and just use their image and their voice for the whole film? Because we can do it. And, there might be look a little glitchy, but that could be kind of the cool part of the whole movie. And then I think Hollywood actors had a big revolt and they said, oh, there's going to be an AI sort of, a rule of thumb that we cannot use AI actors for big major blockbuster movies anymore. There's that rule. Now, is that going to be the case for every industry? What are the ethics around?
Well, it brings up 100 ethical things just in the example you gave. So one is using AI actors or whatever. Yeah. But how many times have you gone into something and you have to sign a contract that says that not only do you own my likeness so that you can use this, but you own my likeness in all forms thought of and unthought of yet, blah, 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 blah. You've seen this clause, right? You've had to sign or you made
Absolutely.
Well, a form not thought of yet is AI. So maybe legally, even though I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know if this will hold up in court, but it seems like from some of these contracts we've signed that you could take a podcast from me from 2011 and train a voice model on it and do new podcasts with me in the future without talking to me. So maybe legally you can do that, but ethically I think would obviously be a problem.
Would it be interesting though? That's where I land, right? Like that human story, right? Would it be as interesting if I contrived your voice and your outlook rather than just sitting here with Kris?
What if you did that? Okay, you're comparing apples and oranges.
Yes. Oh, good. I need to be educated on this.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'm figuring this out with you.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
okay, you're like, would having a virtual Kris that you can feed Adobe headlines to on a daily basis and have it give you back 30-second clips of video of what a media theorist thinks about Adobe's new whatever in real time, and you can drop that into your show, and you're like, now we're going to have KK dropping in, like, now you're talking about a whole new thing, right? Not just replacing the real Kris with an Android or a cyborg or something, you know?
That's right.
It's like, what can we do now that we could have never done before? And that's a open-ended question.
Wow. You've given me some ideas here. I myself look at what the future of education is. I've got 2 kids. And I think I said in my last podcast, I was trying to do math with my son.
Yeah, man.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm the worst math teacher in the world because first of all, I was never good at math. But now he's asking me questions and I'm the one at home doing it. And I'll pull it up on AI.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is really simple. This is really simple. And then my son watches me do it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, I don't need to learn math. I'm just going to put it through AI. And that's the scary part for me. I'm like, oh no, he's going to dismiss this whole idea of what this learning is. Or, you know, and I thought to myself, I did a master's degree about 13 years ago or 12 years ago. And I sit there now and I'm wondering, are people just writing their papers on AI? Like, what is going on out there? And is that safe? Do you want a doctor to learn from AI rather than learn from like really?
Bro, you've just said so many things. This is going to be a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah, well, good.
Okay,
there you go.
So
go to me.
Clearly,
obviously,
education is an important space.
Absolutely.
And when major disruptions in technology like this, it begs the question, like, what the heck is going on in education?
Yes.
And I start at the top, right?
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think we need AI detectors to detect students' AI written papers.
Sure.
Again, I'll quote Brenda Bailey. You know what those things are good at? They're good at detecting newcomers to Canada who often run their not that great of English through these things to make it better and more presentable.
Absolutely.
So their ideas get adjudicated, not their actual words or whatever, right?
That's right.
And so she said that they're biased and racist on the surface. Wow. Just like that, whatever utility they provide is irrelevant vis-a-vis the bias that they introduce into the system.
That's
and so we got to start asking ourselves these things. So anyway, I look at the top. Who's the top? Parents, teachers, and school administrators, right? So we need to ask ourselves, in an age where all the things we were taught can be just replicated real easily, cheat styles with AI, how do we adapt and reform the education perspective, philosophy, outlook, and system so that it actually serves these kids? Where we're not asking them to do some stupid thing and waste. Like, we all know you feel like you're wasting your time in high school, especially if you can't like correlate like what you're doing with some outcomes.
Is it going to happen in the real world?
You know, and so, you know, I'm not going to pick on you, but one could be like, yo, dude, it's on you to not be solving his AI problems with the computer, but asking him and you together with like, how can I build this kid a tutor, a math tutor that sticks with him over when he leaves 5th grade or whatever and goes into 6th into 8th. I mean, maybe we build him an AI math assistant that he likes and gets to know because it's Minecraft based or it's whatever based.
Exactly.
And it sticks with him.
That's right.
The teacher says goodbye in June.
Yes.
But maybe there's this ability to have a friend or an AI chat buddy, educational cohort. And even to, you know, like, dude, there's so much interesting stuff happening. Oh, there's AI tools now that are given high schoolers that essentially build a second brain knowledge base of all their assignments over the course of their high school career, and then generates their college entry papers based on what their ideas they already know and have already written down and submitted all along the way, and synthesizes that shit together with, you know, the generative artworks they do, and art class goes into this knowledge-based notion system or something, as do their papers and experiments and collaborations with other students. And now they got this thing and they can query it. They can be like, correlate some of my ideas about community with the college entry essay requirements from these places. And then you can get an outline of, you know, with references of stuff you've done in the past.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a really valuable asset to a student
Absolutely.
now, or something like that. And that will take them right through into college. So I think that we need to ask ourselves for sure, what's going on and how can we like not make kids, comply with the rules as they are now.
Exactly.
But how can we adapt these things so that we can really empower students to be awesome with the school?
Yes.
I met a principal of a elementary school in Austin, Texas at South by this year.
Yeah.
They were 2/3 of the way through their first school year with no teachers. They would do 3 hours a day of AI assisted learning.
Wow.
And then the people that they used to call teachers, their classroom guides or associates or whatever, would do the other stuff with them. Breathing yoga, relationship communications, home economics, business stuff, and all the things like, I know a lot of rich people who used to traditionally be like sending their kids off to Ivy Leagues. They're like, I told my kid, I don't know what that Ivy League is going to teach you this year. Everything's going crazy in the AI world. How about you like go to become a ski bum for a year? Go to that yoga teacher training you want to do. Or a lot of people are like, how do I teach my kid
empathy,
discernment, empathy, knowing yourself, knowing how to communicate with other people. This maybe is the future of schools or something.
I mean, it's an interesting thing that you're talking about here. I just turned 50 a few weeks ago, and I was like, okay, I've done all this outward work. I've serviced all these people. Now I want to go inward, and that whole emotional piece is not AI related at all. It's not. I'm not getting it from AI, but some of the ideas and techniques of the breath work and all this kind of stuff. Because I'm not, I'll look online. I'll go onto YouTube and look at something, but I'm just going on AI. Hey, can you give me a mantra that I could concentrate on while I'm meditating? Or can you actually point me towards a meditation that I can listen to, or whatever it may be? So it's just the gathering of information in such an organized way that when I ask it to the world, it will present it right away. It's convenience.
Man, you're on the tip of the iceberg, I feel like, too. Yeah. So, like, clearly the maybe paradoxical nature on the surface of using AI to do introspection and personal growth work and development could seem, hysterical, but scratch the surface, right? The first product I made was called Spectre AI as an introspector.
Yeah.
And it relates to the Whisper Forge thing that I was doing too, the audio transcription thing. And so my therapist told me, you need to start journaling. I want you to wake up in the morning, write this stuff, and write your dreams, write your thoughts, what you're afraid of, just write whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I did it a little bit, but I found it hard.
Sure.
I would get distracted or just whatever. I found it difficult, but I could record my voice into my phone. And this is right when AI was coming out. And so I was recording. It started off not as professional stuff, but personal mental health type stuff. I would just record my thoughts and fears and dreams and whatever and stuff. And then I would analyze it through a series of 12 experts, a psychologist, a counselor, a personal growth expert, loving girlfriend, harsh critic, religious advisor. I had all these different personas that I had developed, and I'd run my daily 10-minute journals through, and it's amazing. It's hard to see the forest through the trees. Yeah. And we think we know ourselves, but we're complicated, And so to see these things reflected, especially when you tackle it from all these different perspectives and then try to synthesize some of those perspectives, it becomes really quite fascinating,
So here's the other side. We're talking about the complete digital outlook and landscape. I think about my analog life. I've been going very analog lately, just to even sleep, or just having time where all the lights are off. Like my kids were worried last night because they thought the power was going to go out. Like the power was going to go out.
You were just trying to reduce stimulation.
The world was. I didn't. I think the news reports or their school said that there was actually some windstorm or something. And they're like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, we could light some candles. There's a flashlight. We don't even need the flashlight. We can eat nuts and, whatever else we got. We got enough food in the house, whatever it is. Or it's like camping, right? Mm-hmm. But they're so drawn or they come from this generation where they'll never know what anything was aside from digital, internet, social media. Whereas we're kind of like this cross-cultured, dynamic that where we didn't have any of that stuff for a long time. We didn't know what the internet was. We didn't have Wi-Fi. It was kind of like this is how we lived. And this other perspective of everyone needs everything digital now, even including us in somewhat respect, are you living an analog life as well? Are you living something that is offline, that is just so personal for yourself right now? I want to find out about you, more delve into that.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and Well, for sure, we're all like meatbag humans walking through this physical space or whatever. Yes, I have definitely augmented my brain with a lot of these digital tools and stuff, you know. And coming back after the pandemic, I leaned pretty hard into starting up this company and stuff, you know. And it is in the AI space and it's in the community space and stuff. You know, that being said, I do still look for those times, you know, and stuff. But I, you know, would say where I'm at right this moment is I'm 1 year into my company, and I'm looking to kind of rebalance some of those things I learned on the island and stuff during those downtimes with the kind of rockstar CEO AI company thing I got going on, you know, and stuff. And so I recognize its importance. And maybe I'm leaning a little hard on the city life go thing right now.
Because I've seen that about you, and I knew you from like this beautiful photography globally, because I've been following your work, and you know, like like one of my first interviews way back when, you know, when I started my career, and I was thinking to myself, where do you want to find balance for yourself? I'll tell you what, for me, I have been deep into meditation. I started yoga, like which is kind of like hard for me in my body at times, but I was like, I said to my wife the other day, I've had the best sleep of my life, and I just want to be in that moment for a second. Oh, then my phone goes off, or I've got to get in front of my computer. My kid's got to go do something. I've got to just get in my car and start driving something. But is there another world out there that is going to not embrace AI at all, or any of this technology at all?
Well, it is so funny, man. When we hung out back in the day, that was around the time where like we were saying to people provocatively, "Hey, yo, if you didn't stick it on the internet, it didn't even happen."
That's right.
How do you even know
that was my whole
business?
Like, that was my whole life. Yeah.
Well, now it's like the only shit that matters is the stuff that happens right here, face to face.
That's right.
If it doesn't happen right in front of your face, how do you even know it's true or happened at all? You can't believe a single thing that you didn't see made in front of your face or whatever, right? We're entering into a really interesting time, and like media optimizes for engagement, not for truth.
Yes,
you know. So when you see some big hypey thing going on there, you know, it's probably more engaging than it is true, and like all your clicks are like buying a ticket to a party. You're gonna buy a ticket to the hype party or to the truth party, you know.
Absolutely,
and stuff. And so
absolutely. The hype party, that's really interesting because misinformation. I mean, we just had a big election in the U.S. right now, and you know, I mean, the numbers were what they were, but you look at the world on how they're receiving information. I mean, elections are one part of it, but just truth, whatever you want to call truth now, is that we are like divided as individuals because based on, oh, you're like that, or you belong to this party, or you like that. I'm like, we don't really even know what's real. Because if you were walking into some of these parties, they're all hanging out. The people who are putting out everything's about influence and influencers. What is your take on this whole type of deal with the media and just looking at, forget truth, let's just look what's popular?
Yeah. Well, I got a real problem with the type of stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The whole
Absolutely.
Beholden to money and corporate interest, lobbyist, military industrial complex, corporate American politics. You know, I don't believe that the two parties are different. I think that America is a big ship with a small rudder. I think it's going wherever it's going. I know that there are differences between people like Barack Obama and people like Donald Trump as it impacts people's lives on the day-to-day.
Absolutely.
But if you look at the trajectory of the nation, it seems like it's been going the same place it's going for a long time and is going to continue to go in that direction. And so it seems like, the voting is like, moving around the deck chairs on the Titanic type thing or something like that. So, I find that disengagement from the corporate media stuff keeps me in a more creative, and if you want to, I think you would call it analog.
Yeah, call it analog.
Because I'm still connecting with digitally, but it's with humans about stuff. And I think that it's a little bit different than what you're talking about, the analog thing. But I've reclaimed that space entirely. So it's been like 2 or 3 phones since I've had a news app on.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Interesting.
So that feels good. Yeah. And I'm over the addiction. I remember I used to pull it out every 7 minutes and scan the headlines or something like that. Drudge Report, Google News, blah, 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 Reddit and stuff. And, I still get news from other places, but it's curated or filtered or whatever through YouTubes or podcasts or something like that or things. But Yeah, I'm off the crack of the corporate news.
I appreciate you saying that, when we're looking at so much contrived information, and it is very contrived how it's fed to us, no matter what publication it is, I feel. But it does kill creativity, because what is original after that point? I've started.
I'm not creative when I'm outraged.
Yeah. Oh.
Or pissed off, and
Yeah.
because
there's something in your. Yeah.
And if I'm always at that level of like, it's just not good for my. You want to talk about the yoga and meditation stuff. It's good for me to stay chill.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
And so stimulation, is a part of that. But and conflict, fake corporate.
Well, it's a distraction.
Conflict.
There's distraction. And I want to say, you mentioned you went to South by Southwest. I remember early days when South by Southwest, people were like, what's going on in Austin? And now everybody, everything's going on in Austin. Can you tell me about South by Southwest for your experience?
Yeah, man. It was a great year at South by. Yeah. I went down there with the Frontier Collective and part of the Vancouver House stuff. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. Dan and I... And he used to be my student at Vancouver Film School, and now he's gone on to such great things,
Dan is an incredible human. Actually, I want to get Dan on the podcast here as well. But I just think the community, knowing that we have that here in our sort of vast lower mainland of Vancouver, it's great to know. But then to take that frontier into South by, and having people know who we are, that's a big deal.
It's such a smart idea, and it's also so obvious in some ways, but it's I work with this lady, Carol Ann Hilton, at the Indigenomics Institute. And she and I were at South by this year, and she's like, look at all these interesting Indigenous First Nations things has happened at all these different places. Well, what if we had a global Indigenous technology house and we programmed all our own stuff in our own place and concentrated instead of spreading it all out,
Absolutely.
And that is kind of what's happened with that Vancouver delegation going down there too to South by. There was 50 or 100 Vancouver companies going on, but we were all going to everybody else's stuff and speaking at their events and stuff. And so the idea of having a Vancouver takeover where we all put our content and programming and companies all in the same place for the same day.
Well, just a feather in our cap. We've brought some of the biggest companies to Vancouver to operate and have offices here, from Microsoft, Facebook. I remember when we used to just sit and we need a job down in the U.S. I need to move to Toronto. I need to go to all these other places. I'm like, I love living here. Yeah. There is something beautiful about this place.
Well, I got an important shout out there that not everybody knows about. And because I've sort of even learned about, I've been really mapping the money in Vancouver as it comes to investment in AI and digital technology, video games, special effects, these animation studios and startups and accelerators and innovators and all that kind of stuff, And so there's this organization called DigiBC.
Oh, DigiBC.
And DigiBC used to be New Media BC.
Yes.
Back when New Media BC was New Media BC, they helped build the Great Northern Way Center for Digital Media, the Emily Carr campus, that whole thing. That is kind of the legacy of DigiBC through New Media BC.
Yes.
The current executive director of DigiBC is Locke Dow. And I've learned through talking to Locke that they kind of consider themselves, they're a nonprofit industry association.
Sure.
But you look and you're like, what do you do? And why do you well, what they do is they have been an advocate for and a defender of the tax credit that allows these big corporate people in the digital entertainment space, games, animation, and effects, to set up corporate world-class headquarters here, and gives them 30% off their federal taxes or whatever, right? Wow. So they're not just out there being like, oh, brain drain, got to keep people here, whatever. They're like, by lobbying politicians about the importance and strength of this industry, we can, get an incentive for these people to move here long-term and thereby build a digital economy here, or whatever. And so that's an interesting model, right? There's a lot of people talking about AI in Canada right now, and how do we incubate and a situation that kind of keeps our leadership position in lots of areas and stuff.
Not enough people. So a lot of people are looking for their next opportunity, and they're hitting a wall. And I'm meeting those people. They're like, oh, I've got to move out of Vancouver. I got to leave here, or whatever city that they're living in. But it's also knowing what the resources are. And I think what you're doing is you're putting it in front of them. It's like, here is on a silver platter, all the people that need it and all the people that can provide it. And I think that is a huge opportunity.
There's some significant dollars available right now for tech companies in Canada through the federal and provincial governments. And the processes by which you receive it are complicated. And I'm not sure if that's a feature or a bug. I really don't know. I've had trouble figuring it out, but There was an application that opened through Pacific Can yesterday here. $32.2 million for BC companies in AI adoption and education.
Wow.
Well, one might think that if you read the thing, that applications are open for this money, that you should get an application together.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, people who are allowed to apply once you get into the details are the people that already submitted a letter of intent or a letter of interest, an LOI, I forget which one it was, that says what you're going to do and who you're going to do and where the other half the funding is going to come from and who the formal partners are. And then it says, and that if your letter is approved, you'll know, and then get your application in as soon after the deadline, the opening of the application process as possible, because then money gets given out on a first come first served basis, right? So the application process
you had to have started like a year ago.
And by the way, the only people that can do an LOI are people that are already like an approved member of this thing, and you have to do it in consortium. So you have to find 2 other approved members to write the letter to get the chance to apply and have all your other half funding.
So it's the same people getting the same money sometimes. And that's pretty, so for the people out there that are making these grants, making these applications, let's democratize it a little bit better.
At least the information part. I'm sure they have some good reasons for doing these things this way. I'm sure it's to protect from corruption, giving money to fake companies or whatever.
Which happens.
It has to do, I'm sure, with accountability and for good reasons. However, that middle tier of organizations that stand between the government and the companies who represent the industry and stuff, they need to be making sure that they do everything they can to be a clearinghouse of that information and an educator of and an assistant to these companies that want to access that. Justin Trudeau, $2.4 billion of AI funding, and stuff is like,
where is it?
It's trickling through the system.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And that's another thing is, there is investment from government. There's investment from companies that want to do more, have bigger ideas out there. But then you have like these guys like Elon Musk who are just like, I'm just going to build some robots and some cars, and I'm going to take my own ideas and just fund them and then make more money off of them. Are there companies like this out of Canada? Like they're just guys just funding themselves, funding their ideas. They didn't take any seed capital from anybody, or not to say that.
There's people on a smaller scale.
Oh yeah,
or whatever. But obviously one of the success stories that I'd love to point to is Shopify, and that's like Toby and Harley Finkelstein. Like that's incredible. A huge company. Incredible. I think it's the most valuable company in Canada. It's it was $280 billion one time I looked sometime in the last. It's a big company, and they're doing interesting things, and they're acquiring other companies and spinning out different things. And so I would view them as a strong gravitational epicenter of innovation in Canada and stuff.
I want to just like hone in on that idea that we're not just looking elsewhere for these big stories to happen. Because me myself, I've had an opportunity to interview and document some fascinating business people from Canada, but it's like this whole mindset that I need to go somewhere else to do this. And I think AI is going to tell you, you don't have to leave your home to create the next big idea for yourself or for others to have something compelling in their life change. And so I think you're building on that, and I think you're aiding in that for people.
Awesome. I would love to. I'm definitely trying to center this stuff. We do have a talk at our next AI meetup about unlocking AI ecosystem federal funds, like a roadmap for a lady named Vanessa Sanchez is giving a talk, and her and I have been collaborating behind the scenes on some of the ideas. So I am trying to help everyone understand it as much as I can so that we can go after it together.
I love it. Where can people find you, and where can people connect with your work?
Yeah, well, my name is Kris Krüg, Kriskrug. That's the best place to just drop that into the Googles and see what comes up. Amazing. But, I publish on my own website and on other websites. I lead AI trainings and workshops, courses, for professionals. I got one for journalists and PR people coming up in February, and I've got one for creative pros coming up in January. They're awesome. We do these big capstone AI projects where people build their own marketing assistants or design tools, and we work and educate and workshop for the first 5 weeks, and then pull together a final project in the end. It's something you can actually use, and it's we put over 100 people through the programs last year and stuff, and it's pretty epic. And we're diversified for 2025, so it's actually, I think it's going to be a big growth year and stuff.
I love it. Yeah, I want to thank you for being here today. I want to commend you on your continued work, your continued fashion. I always look to you. You're so cool. Like this man.
Dude, you're so cool.
Oh.
After interviewing like the Dalai Lama and doing stuff with Oprah Winfrey, you decided you better get Kris Krüg back on or something like that? You know, ground yourself again?
Well, no, you know what it is every day is an opportunity, right? Every day is a bit of learning. Everyone is fascinating and everyone's story is iconic. That's what I say at Human Biography. But also here's the other thing is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel to find greatness. So when I knew you way back when, you gave me an opportunity to sit with you. You're an amazing human. You're a good man, and I appreciate you as a brother. And thank you for coming back and coming into my home and
Dude,
taking
your studio is sweet.
Okay,
and it's been so fun watching your trajectory. I mean, you never know like which celebrity, famous, world influencing impactor you might like show up on the internet.
It's all a manifestation. It's all a manifestation.
It's really fun.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Man.